The quantum sensors aboard the research vessel Eternal Curiosity pinged with warning signals as Chief Observer Zweichstall's crystalline appendages shifted from their usual calm azure to a worried violet. The Earth's atmosphere shouldn't have been able to support life, yet somehow it teemed with it. Third-tier observer Nimare confirmed these readings, Zweichstall commanded, their crystalline form refracting the soft light of the bridge's bioluminescent panels. These oxygen levels would be toxic to most known species. Nimare, fresh from the Galactic Alliance Academy, moved their gelatinous form to the sensor array. Confirmed, Chief Observer. And that's not all, the gravitational force is 1.3 times higher than standard habitable parameters. The temperature variations alone should prevent complex life from evolving. The research vessel hung in high orbit, cloaked from Earth's primitive detection systems. This was supposed to be a routine observation mission, study the anomalous species that had somehow developed spaceflight capabilities despite evolving on what the Alliance classified as a death world. But something felt wrong. Security Officer Vex Thor, their metallic exoskeleton gleaming, approached the command podium. "Chief, I must again protest this mission. The last 3 observation teams that attempted close contact with humans disappeared without trace. We should maintain orbital distance." Zweichstall's crystals chimed softly, their species equivalent of a dismissive laugh. "Those teams were careless, Vex Thor. Our cloaking technology has been upgraded specifically to counter human detection methods. They won't even know we're here." The vessel descended through the atmosphere, its advanced shielding protecting it from the friction of re-entry. They chose the remote Kamchatka Peninsula as their observation point, a relatively unpopulated area where they could study human survival techniques in one of Earth's most hostile environments. Deploying ground sensors, Nimare announced, their form rippling with excitement. Atmospheric composition stable. Local temperature at -15 degrees Celsius. Multiple large predatory life forms detected within a 5-kilometer radius. Zweichstall extended their sensory crystals, taking in the alien landscape. Snow-covered volcanoes pierced the clouds, steam rising from their peaks. Dense forests stretched across valleys carved by ancient glaciers. And somewhere out there, humans not only survived but thrived in conditions that would kill most sentient species. "Begin surface deployment," Zweichstall ordered. "Full biocamouflage protocols. Remember, we're here to observe and document only. No interaction with the local species under any circumstances." The research team deployed from the vessel, their biocamouflage suits automatically adapting to match the snowy environment. Each member was equipped with advanced scanning technology and neural recorders to document every aspect of human behavior they encountered. "Chief," Vex Thor called out suddenly, their metallic voice tinged with concern. "The sensors are detecting an anomaly in the local electromagnetic field. It's interfering with our cloaking systems." Before Zweichstall could respond, their biocamouflage flickered. For a brief moment, their true forms were visible against the stark white landscape. A distant sound echoed through the valley, what their database identified as a human gasp of surprise. "Impossible," Nimare whispered, their gelatinous form quivering. "The suits are calibrated for all known Earth detection methods." Zweichstall's crystals darkened with realization. All known methods. But we've never fully understood how humans track their prey. Abort mission. Return to the vessel immediately. But it was too late. The sound of approaching footsteps crunching through snow reached their audio receptors. Someone had seen them. Someone was coming. And for the first time in their long career as a chief observer, Zweichstall felt a sensation they had never experienced before, prey instinct. The research team scrambled back toward their vessel, but the human environment worked against them. The deep snow, which humans somehow navigated with ease, bogged down their movements. The thin, oxygen-rich air that humans breathed naturally caused their biosuits to work overtime maintaining safe atmospheric conditions. As they retreated, Zyxtal realized with growing horror why Earth had been classified as a death world. It wasn't just the hostile environment or the dangerous predators. It was because this planet had forged its dominant species through countless generations of survival against impossible odds. They hadn't just adapted to these deadly conditions, they had mastered them. The footsteps grew closer, and with them came the first real understanding that would eventually lead to Earth's restricted status. Humans weren't just surviving on a death world, they were the most dangerous thing on it. Through the swirling snow, Ranger Rhea Winters moved with practiced ease, her steps deliberate and silent despite the deep powder. 20 years of tracking in the Kamchatka wilderness had taught her to trust her instincts, and right now, every fiber of her being screamed that something was wrong. She'd seen them, or thought she had, 3 figures that flickered like heat mirages against the white landscape. But that was impossible. Nothing could survive exposed in these temperatures without proper gear, and these figures had seemed almost transparent. "Base, this is Winters," she spoke into her radio, her voice barely above a whisper. "Possible unknown entities spotted in Sector 7. Permission to investigate." The radio crackled. "Winters, maintain distance and observe only. Backup is en route." But Rhea knew whatever she'd seen wouldn't wait for backup. The tracks in the snow were unlike anything she'd encountered in her 2 decades as a ranger, irregular depressions that seemed to shift and change even as she studied them. Meanwhile, aboard the Eternal Curiosity, panic had set in. "The human is tracking us," Nimare reported, their gelatinous form now a sickly yellow with stress. "But how? Our prints should be masked by the temporal displacement field." Zyxtal's crystals pulsed with rapid calculations. Thermal masking at maximum. Movement patterns scrambled. She shouldn't be able to follow us. Yet with each passing moment, the human drew closer to their position. Vexthor's metallic fingers tightened around their defense rod. "We should engage the neural disruptors." One quick pulse and... "Absolutely not." Zyxtal's voice rang with authority. "We are scientists, not warriors. And need I remind you of Incident 247? The last team that attempted to use neural disruptors on humans discovered they were partially immune. It only made them angry. The storm intensified, thick snow reducing visibility to mere meters. For the alien observers, it was a nightmare of sensory overload. Their advanced equipment, calibrated for precision observation, couldn't filter out the chaos of Earth's weather. But through their cameras, they watched in astonishment as Rhea moved through the blizzard as if it were a mild spring day. "Remarkable," Nimare couldn't help but comment, scientific curiosity temporarily overriding their fear. "She's using the storm to her advantage. The human's primitive visual system somehow functions better in these conditions than our quantum imaging arrays." Rhea pressed forward, her mind racing. The tracks were erratic now, suggesting panic. Whatever she was following was intelligent and scared, a dangerous combination. She'd seen what happened when frightened animals lashed out. But these weren't animal tracks. They were something else entirely. Aboard their vessel, Zyxtal made a decision that would later be debated in alliance councils for years to come. "We need to understand how she's tracking us. Nimare, begin full spectrum analysis. Vexthor, deploy the micro-drones. If we're going to be hunted, we might as well learn from it." The micro-drones, barely larger than snowflakes, dispersed around Rhea, recording her every movement. Her heart rate was steady, her body temperature efficiently regulated despite the extreme cold. She moved with a predator's grace, but her eyes showed something else, curiosity. "Look at her thermal signature," Nimare reported with growing excitement. "She's maintaining perfect homeostasis in conditions that should be rapidly draining her body heat. And those eyes, they're constantly scanning, processing data our sensors can't even detect." Rhea stopped suddenly, crouching to examine something in the snow. The alien observers froze, their systems on high alert. She picked up a single snowflake, studying it intently. The micro-drones, Vexthor realized with horror. She's spotted one of our micro-drones. Indeed, Rhea was examining the strange snowflake that didn't quite match its fellows. 20 years in the wilderness had taught her that nothing was truly random. Nature had patterns, and this was something new. Base, she whispered into her radio, I don't think we're alone out here. And whatever's out here, it's not from around these parts. Not from anywhere on Earth, I'd reckon. The revelation sent shockwaves through the alien observation team. This human hadn't just tracked them, she deduced their extraterrestrial origin from a single piece of their technology. The implications were staggering. We need to abort, Vexthor insisted. She's too close to discovering. A sharp crack echoed through the valley. One of their sensor arrays, stressed by the extreme cold, had developed a fracture. The sound, barely noticeable to them, might as well have been a thunderclap in the silent snowfall. Rhea's head snapped toward their location, her eyes focusing directly on their position despite their cloaking technology. For a moment, observer and observed locked eyes across the impossible divide between worlds. Then, she smiled. It wasn't a threatening expression, but something about it sent chills through every member of the alien research team. It was the smile of a predator, yes, but more than that, it was the smile of a curious predator. And somehow, that was infinitely more terrifying. The standoff in the Kamchatka wilderness was interrupted by a sound that made both human and alien observers freeze, the deep, resonant growl of an Amur tiger. The largest big cats on Earth, these apex predators weren't supposed to be in this sector. Yet here one was, drawn perhaps by the unusual activity in its territory. Life sign detection at maximum, Nimare reported, their gelatinous form rippling with fresh fear. Approaching predator mass, approximately 300 kilograms. Biological weapons, multiple. Threat level, extreme. Zewextal's crystals pulsed with rapid calculations. Their database showed that these creatures were one of Earth's most efficient killing machines, perfectly evolved for this harsh environment. But what terrified them most was watching Rhea's reaction, or rather, her lack of one. The ranger hadn't run. She hadn't even flinched. Instead, she was scanning the tree line with practiced precision, her body language shifting subtly into what their sensors identified as a combat-ready stance. The microdrones recorded her vital signs, elevated but controlled, her biochemistry adjusting to prepare for either fight or flight. Impossible, Vexthor muttered, their metallic exoskeleton vibrating with tension. She's preparing to engage a predator that outweighs her by 250 kilograms. Without weapons. Without armor. Without any technological advantages. The tiger emerged from the tree line, its massive form moving with liquid grace through the deep snow. It was an old male, battle-scarred and experienced, drawn by the strange scents and movements in its territory. The alien observers watched in horror as it focused not on the human, but on them. Their cloaking technology might fool human technology, but it did nothing to mask their scent from Earth's wildlife. The predator can detect us, Nimare realized aloud. Our chemical signatures are too alien to mask. What happened next would be studied in Alliance academies for generations to come. Rhea, seeing the tiger's focus on the empty space where the alien stood, made a decision that defied every rational expectation. She stepped between the tiger and the invisible observers. "Oh no," she called out, her voice carrying clearly through the snow-filled air. "You don't get to eat my aliens. I found them first." The absurdity of the statement struck Zewextal's team like a physical blow. This human, faced with one of her planet's most dangerous predators, was making territorial claims over them. The tiger snarled, snow falling from its whiskers. It took a step forward, testing. Rhea didn't back down. Instead, she did something that made the alien observers question everything they thought they knew about human psychology. She snarled back. Analyzing vocal patterns, Nimare reported, fascination overtaking fear. She's mimicking the predator's threat display. And doing it correctly. The tiger paused, clearly confused by this prey that acted like a predator. In that moment of hesitation, Rhea reached slowly into her jacket and withdrew what the alien sensors identified as a simple signal flare. With deliberate movements, she struck it alight. The sudden burst of bright light and hissing smoke caused the tiger to back up, its instincts warning it away from fire, humanity's oldest weapon. Rhea advanced steadily, the flare held high, her voice now carrying a tone of authority that seemed to transcend species. "That's right, big guy. Time to find easier prey. This is my research project." The tiger, perhaps deciding that this strange encounter wasn't worth the effort, slowly backed away before disappearing into the forest. The silence that followed was profound. Rhea waited until she was sure the tiger was gone before turning to face the exact spot where the alien observers stood. "Now then," she said, still holding the sputtering flare, "I believe we were about to have a first contact situation before we were so rudely interrupted." The alien team was stunned into silence. This human had not only tracked them through a blizzard but had also faced down an apex predator to protect them, aliens she couldn't even properly see, whose intentions she couldn't possibly know. "Chief," Vexthor said quietly, "I believe we need to reconsider our classification of humans as a primitive species." Zewextal's crystals had shifted to a deep blue of contemplation. "Agreed. The question is, what exactly are we dealing with here?" The answer came in Rhea's next words, spoken almost casually as she surveyed their general location. "You know, most visitors at least buy me dinner first before playing hide and seek in a blizzard. Your cloaking tech is impressive, but it's messing with the local wildlife. Mind shutting it off before something bigger than a tiger comes to investigate?" The implications were clear. She hadn't just found them, she understood what they were, had deduced their technological capabilities, and was now attempting to establish diplomatic contact. All while casually standing in lethal temperatures that would kill most species in the galaxy. Zewextal made a decision that would change interstellar relations forever. "Deactivate camouflage systems," they ordered. "It appears, we have much to learn about our hosts." The deactivation of the cloaking field revealed the alien research team to Rhea, whose only reaction was a slight raising of her eyebrows. She studied their diverse forms, Zewextal's crystalline structure, Nimare's gelatinous body, and Vexthor's metallic exoskeleton, with the same careful attention she gave to tracking wildlife. "Fascinating," she said, maintaining a respectful distance. "Three completely different species working together. You must have quite a civilization out there. You're not afraid?" Nimare couldn't help but ask, their form rippling with confusion. Rhea laughed, a sound that made their sensors spike with unfamiliar readings. "Afraid? I've spent 20 years protecting Earth's most dangerous predators. You've been running from me for the past hour. I think we both know who should be afraid here." The truth of her words struck Zewextal with crystalline clarity. Their advanced technology, their interstellar civilization, their supposed superiority, none of it had given them an advantage on this death world. If anything, it had made them more vulnerable. "We need to report this to the Alliance Council," Vexthor insisted. "Humans aren't just surviving here, they're mastering conditions that should be impossible to live in." But before they could act, their sensors detected new threats. Multiple human vehicles were approaching their position, no doubt responding to Rhea's earlier radio calls. "Your backup's coming," Rhea said, noting their agitation. "And I'm guessing you're not ready for a full first contact scenario. So here's what we're going to do." The warning. In the highest chamber of the Galactic Alliance Council, Zewextal presented their report. The crystalline walls reflected the gravity of their findings as they shared the neural recordings of their encounter on Earth. "Members of the Council," they began, their form pulsing with urgent colors, "I stand before you to recommend an immediate classification change for Earth. It must be designated as a restricted zone, off-limits to all but the most essential contact." The council chamber erupted in discussion. Surely you overstate the case, one member argued. They are still a pre-FTL civilization. Zewixtal's crystals darkened. With all respect, that is precisely what makes them so remarkable. And so dangerous. They played the recording of Rhea facing down the tiger, of her tracking them through conditions that had defeated their best technology, of her immediate grasp of their nature and technology despite it being her first alien encounter. Humans aren't just another species that evolved on a death world, Zewixtal explained. They are the death world. Every aspect of their biology, their psychology, their social structure, it's all shaped by surviving conditions that should be impossible. The recording continued, showing how Rhea had helped them evade detection from other humans, protecting their secret while simultaneously demonstrating exactly why her species was so formidable. She had orchestrated their escape with the same skill she used to track them, all while teaching them more about human capabilities than any previous research mission had discovered. But the most crucial finding, Zewixtal concluded, is this: humans don't just survive in hostile conditions. They seek them out. They explore them. They treat lethal environments as challenges to be overcome rather than threats to be avoided. And most importantly, they're curious. The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. A species that treats death worlds as their natural habitat, possesses unprecedented adaptive capabilities, and maintains an insatiable drive to explore. Zewixtal's crystals pulsed with finality. If we continue to interact with Earth before they discover us on their own terms, we risk something far worse than failure. We risk teaching them our weaknesses before they're ready to understand their own strength. The Council's decision was unanimous. Earth would be classified as a restricted zone, not to protect humanity from the galaxy, but to protect the galaxy from humanity, at least until they were ready to join the galactic community on their own terms. As the council session ended, Zewixtal received one final transmission from Earth, a simple message from Rhea: when you're ready to stop hiding, come back during winter. That's when the real predators come out to play. The message was logged as further evidence supporting Earth's restricted status. After all, only humans would consider their planet's most lethal season the best time for a reunion. In the years that followed, the galaxy watched from a safe distance as humanity continued to thrive in their hostile corner of space, knowing that someday, inevitably, these Death World masters would find their way to the stars. And when that day came, the galaxy would need to be ready. Because humans hadn't just mastered their Death World, they had become what every other species feared to be: perfect survivors, endlessly adaptable, and eternally curious. The galaxy had never seen anything like them. And perhaps, the Council realized, that was exactly why they needed to stay away.